G'day, it's your old mate Matthew here from the Yarnsman. Welcome to the Yarnsman podcast. Today we have Chris Roberts, or the Yarnsman Chris Roberts. We get into a couple of things here, including depression and anxiety. So if you find that triggering, please do step away and check our website for some support resources. But hope you enjoy the episode. Hello and welcome to the Yarnsman podcast. Today we have Chris Roberts.
How are you?
Oh, he's beaten me to it.
Sorry about that.
How are you?
I'm great, thanks. I'm really happy to be here. Thanks very much for asking me.
Well, thank you. And, thanks for having me in your wonderful podcast studio.
No, thanks. Yes, built specially for it.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's eggshell padding on the walls to keep it soundproof, right?
Exactly. That's for when I do my massage, you can't hear them scream.
Yeah. Well, we'll dive into it then. What's something you've struggled with in the last week?
Well, the last week and the past few weeks, it keeps coming up, is in today's economic environment, trying to get people to look after their well-being. When people are struggling with money, they put paying the bills rightfully before their well-being. Then they forget about their well-being, and they forget that if their well-being improves, they'll feel better with themselves, and then they can actually function better. So we're in a bit of a vicious cycle at the moment in today's economic world. And so how do we, because I own a fitness centre called Koha Fitness, how do we provide a service for people who, through no fault of their own, are not being able to afford it, so they can work on their well-being? That's something I'm working on.
Well, I like that because it's the struggle of wanting to help people, but also a struggle of being a business owner and finding the middle ground there.
Yeah, and I haven't got the answer yet, but I've got to pay bills, but I want to help people. I want to support them on their journey, and so we're working on ways that we can do that.
Well, leading into the next question is, what do you want to work on in the next week?
Well, that's what I'm working on, is how do we do that? We have people cancelling memberships because they're losing their jobs, they're having to move away, they can't afford it, their mortgage rates have gone up. So what can we do to support them? We've come up with a few initiatives, hopefully they'll kick in, where we can actually provide the service, and if they can't afford it at the moment, then they could forward pay or pay it in the future, or we look at getting some type of sponsorship, other members helping other people pay for their memberships. I've got a pay bill.
Yeah, a pay one, get one. I've always liked that model, and that could be an interesting one in a gym environment, right?
Yeah, I'd like to think people come here for their physical health, but they'll stay for their mental well-being. That's what keeps people here. They see the benefits from it, and that's from any exercise. I think people start to feel better within themselves. It helps. It's one of the best antidepressants out there, is physical exercise. It can be intimidating going into places and the first time you do it, so we want to make it as welcoming as possible. And that extra stress of not having the financial ability to do it is really draining.
Yeah, I hear you. What are you proud of?
I am mostly proud of my kids. I've got 3 kids, Sam, Charlie and Billy. I'm super proud of them. I'm proud of what we're trying to establish here. We're really trying to help people on their journey. It's not about for me it's about doing good, trying to help educate people, try and have some fun. Being a business, we've got to try and cover our bills, but I'm proud of what we're establishing here. And I'm just a catalyst for that. It was my baby, but what we're developing is something way bigger than me, and I think it needs to be.
Love that. That's great. Good on you.
Thanks.
What gives you hope?
Hope is that we're doing better. The world's changing. I see men talking more about issues, opening up more. In the past, there was this whole stigma about mental illness and guys just having to have their stiff upper lip, as someone I heard quote me once. And just have to get on, where you don't. You can actually stop, you can pause, you can feel your feelings, you can talk to other people. Talking and conversing is so important. That release of energy that you get from that just takes a burden off your shoulders. It's not about sorting a problem out, it's about conversing and talking about it.
Good. Well, that all fits in with the Yarnsman.
Absolutely, that's why I love it.
Yeah, kind of motto of things. Well, we're gonna dive into it, Chris, and into a bit more detail, a bit more conversation style. What's the yarn that you'd like to share with us today?
Well, I was go back about 12, 13 years. I was going through a divorce. We had the Christchurch earthquakes. I lost my home, I lost my work, and I lost my partner. And I had no idea what was going on. I just was in a pretty bad place, and a friend of mine came up to me when I was just in my house with my closed curtains, not able to move off the bed, and said, "Something wrong with you?" I went, "What do you mean?" He said, "No, you're not right. You've got to come see my dad." And fortunately, her dad was a psychiatrist. And I went to see a guy called Harvey Williams. And he spent a couple of hours with me doing some tests, and I had no idea why I felt like I did. And he said, "Well, from this, we figured you've got a anxiety disorder." And one of the tests, he said, if you score over 140, you've got anxiety issues. I scored something like 256.
Sure.
So I felt like a winner. And then he said, "You've got depression." I went, "Wow." And as soon as I heard the diagnosis, there was a weight lifted off my shoulder. There was a reason for why I felt like I did, and there was a solution. He discussed with me going on antidepressants and starting counselling. Being a guy, I thought antidepressants were not for me, they're for the weak.
Mm-hmm.
Then he described and explained the use of the antidepressants, how it opens up the doorway for the therapy to actually be more successful, and the role of serotonin. And so I went on a course of my antidepressants and started some therapy, and that was a turning point in my life. Before that had happened, I remember standing in a forest with a friend of mine, just sobbing. I had no idea who I was. I'd lost myself, and this was a journey back to finding myself. And I'm still doing that. It's been a 10-year long journey. I've worn out 4 therapists. Each therapist has been really good for different stages of my recovery, and they've all been amazing, and I'm still doing that.
It's really great that you consider it a journey. You know, that's it's not a destination. That's in your darkest days when you're thinking about just finding a solution, how did you kind of get comfortable with it being a journey rather than a destination?
It was, from the beginning, it was described to me, this is going to be a journey.
Okay.
It's not going to be a quick fix. It's taken me years to develop to be how I am. It wasn't just a one event. There's been a lot happened in the past that had led to me getting to where I was. And the big catalyst was the divorce, the Christchurch earthquake, losing my home, losing my work in a period of about 4 weeks, if you like. And that was just tumbled it a little bit. And then a couple of years after that, I started a relationship, and then that was over. And that was the final block for me. And it's been just a journey since then. And I think if you think it ends, it doesn't. There's always surprises me how little triggers can trigger you into the dark space again. My hope is that those triggers get wider apart, and the time I'm in the depression gets shorter. And then it's like welcoming an old friend up. You're back again.
Yeah.
Let's just reevaluate what's happening. First thing that goes for me is I stop exercising, and I start eating more. So, this is what's happening. Let's change that.
Understanding your triggers is a big thing, and it sounds like you've got that handled. It's sort of some of the work we do on the side is, what's the best way of trying to find your triggers? Do you have any tips around that?
They always surprise you. No, I have no tricks about discovering what is a trigger. I think it's really important for us to be open to our feelings. I remember I've done a few courses. I did this one course through a guy called Richard Black. If you get the opportunity to do one of his courses, I'd really recommend it. And I was sitting there and he said, "Okay, I want you to write down every feeling that you know." I wrote 3. I said, "That's it. Happy, sad, depression."
Right.
That covers everything. He came up to me, then he showed me a list of about 60. I went, "You're joking." So then I had to sit there, and part of the exercise was actually becoming aware of your feelings and what are your feelings telling you. And feelings are very, very, very interesting thing, because the first time you feel that feeling is normally your coping mechanism for that feeling. So if you're 4 and you feel a feeling, you have the coping mechanism of a 4-year-old. If you're a teenager and you feel that feeling, that's your coping mechanism. And I always remember having a couple of friends, and They would argue. They're in a partnership, and she would go to a 13-year-old, he would go to a 4-year-old. So you got adults, one acting as a 4-year-old, one arguing with a 13-year-old. Never going to end well. And the art, and what was the course was about developing better coping strategies for those feelings. But first you've got to feel your feelings.
Yeah, it's a thing around they can keep us safe, right?
They can. Yeah, there's a lot of safety in feelings. And as guys, we don't express it. Again, I've got 3 beautiful girls, and I noticed when there were 2 or 3 how they would play. They would talk 90% of the time, play for 5% of the time, get ready for 5% of the time. And another mate, and they had 4 boys. They would fight for 80% of the time, talk for 5% of the time, and then actually play for 15% of the time. We're different. Women have this ability to converse and talk about their feelings. And guys, we need to actually actively develop those skills.
Yeah, I agree. I couldn't agree more with you. Let's sort of so I've written a few questions here.
Okay.
The role of your friend coming in and dragging you out of a hole.
Yeah.
How important do you think that person is in your life?
They're very important. I'm forever thankful. It's a very good friend. Her name's Bronwyn, and she came up to me. She's pretty blunt. She said, "Look, you got fifths. You need to go see my dad." And I don't know if you've heard of what fifths is.
No, I've never heard that before.
Fucked in the head syndrome.
I've definitely thought it.
Yeah. And I thought, yeah, that's fair. Yeah. And she didn't force me, but really encouraged me to go see her dad. And I'm forever grateful for that. I'm forever grateful for the dad and the family.
How do you think people can be more like Bronwyn?
They've got to care. She knew something was up, and she was, I'd say, brave enough to come to me. We had a good friendship, and she was prepared to put herself out there. She was willing to risk the friendship for me.
That's great. I think there's definitely more people can be like Bronwyn, right?
Yeah, yep. And it's just about conversing and meeting people and seeing that something's not right. So it all comes down to connection and communication.
100%. What do you think about kind of labels and diagnoses? So the labels of anxiety, depression, and then things around taking antidepressants.
I'm not a fan of labels. I'm really not, because as soon as you have a label on someone, everybody has a definition of what that label means. I think it would be great if we could get away with labels. Antidepressants, I think, are vital. I think they can be overprescribed at times. They're a very important tool. They were for me, that's why I say they were vital. For other people, they may not be, but for me, it opened the door for the therapy to work better, and it worked quicker. And it just bridged the gap, so my brain was in a better place to accept the therapy.
Yeah, that's cool. So what we're going to do is I want to talk a bit about your stint at reality TV. You've got to share that yarn, but I'm also really interested to know, how did that impact on your mental health? But how did you even get into this? Spin us that yarn.
Yeah, so it's an interesting little story. I thought it was quite funny. At the Koha gym, we do a lot of laundry, and I get it dried at a laundromat. And I was sitting at the laundromat waiting for the laundry to dry, and I was looking through the social media, and I saw this little ad pop up saying, "Would you be interested at Second Chance at Love?" And being single, still single by the way, hint, unashamed, is I thought, I've got 20 minutes, I'll fill out the application form. So it asked some questions, I filled it out. The hardest part was finding a photo of myself, and then having 3 daughters, I had to pick a daughter that would, because it was having a kid involved, a teenager. My youngest was too young, eldest was too busy, and I thought, Charlie, I wonder if she'd do it. So I found a photo of Charlie, I sent it off, had a little chuckle to myself, thought nothing of it. A week later I got a phone call from them saying, "We really liked your application, are you still interested?" And I said, "Yep." That's good, because we'd like to interview in a couple of hours. I went, "Great." So then I got on the phone to Charlie and I said, "Charlie, how do you feel about being on a reality TV show?" She went, "Yeah, I actually explained what it was. He said, yeah, I'd be keen on that. I said, great, you got an interview in 2 hours. And so we got interviewed a few times and got onto it. The reality, though, my anxiety went through the roof. I thought, I'm going to go on TV. How do I protect myself? What's going to happen? But then I felt, well, if I'm going to go on TV, I can't be anybody but myself. I'd get called out, and I can't be called out. And we all wear masks in life. Can I remove those masks and just be myself? I got into the mindset that, yeah, I can be. And so when I went onto the show, I was just myself. Very much a cringe factor watching myself on TV. But what you see is me. I'm not pretending to be anybody else. And I think the show really managed to capture the essence of everybody really well. And unfortunately, after the show, one of the people, Flavio, died. And they almost didn't put the show on. They got permission from the family to put the show on. Son watched the show, gave his permission and his blessing, because it was supposed to be on earlier, and it came on when it did. And I never thought I'd be on a reality TV show. It was never on my to-do list, but it was excellent. I really enjoyed the experience. Nothing was scripted. Everything is what you were. And the camera crew, the crew were just amazing. Just incredible.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, can we talk about the sudden death? What was the circumstances around that?
We just got a message saying that he had died.
Well, that's tough.
Yeah. It was really hard because he was such a flamboyant person. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really tough. How supportive were the?
They were incredible. I don't know if people know this, but after the show, we have 2 years' worth of therapy available to us, should we require it.
Great.
They made contact with us. The lady is incredible. Talked to all of us, asked us if we're going okay, checked up with us, checked up with the kids. They're amazingly, it's just incredible how they look after you and just support you after the production, because none of us knew how it was going to be shown, what they were going to, because they're going to edit it. We didn't know how it was going to be edited, what was going. So the first day before we got told the episode's coming on, we're all shitting ourselves.
Yeah,
you don't know how you're going to be portrayed. Have no idea. You know what's happened, but you don't know what they're going to pick it out. Because you get mic'd at about 8 o'clock in the morning, the mics come off about 8 o'clock at night. That's 12, 13 hours they're going to condense into 45 minutes. But they're really clever. They'd plough us in the evenings. They always give us a couple of drinks, and we go, a little bit of a party. Half an hour later, they'll pack up and go, and just left us there.
Right.
What now? But they're very responsible.
Oh, it's such an interesting thing. I just don't think I could do it. I mean, I'm, even the idea of having a videographer at our wedding, we're not doing that because I play up, and so I don't want to come across like a knob. Yeah. But well, there we go. Right.
Yeah. It's incredible to be on the TV and talk and just have the thought of people videoing you. I never thought again, what the heck? You'd be doing something and all of a sudden there's 5 or 6 people. You look up and there's 5 or 6 cameras on you. And you go, wow, that's amazing. I'm just so glad they turned it off when you went to the toilet.
To say,
to be honest.
Did you, you didn't have the mic on it or anything in there yet?
Oh yeah, you're all mic'd up. And the sound person must switch it all off and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. I'm also thankful they didn't have the cameras in the bedrooms.
Yeah,
because no one wants to see you get changed.
No, that's pretty tough. What about wearing makeup? Did they put some makeup on you?
Yeah, they put some stuff on, and that was to stop the glint.
Right.
And there was one dress-up thing where I was dressed up in an outfit, steampunk, and so I had some face makeup on. But it was just so much fun, very relaxing. I was very nervous, as you most probably can see if you ever watch it. Begin with, and then you just get into it, and you're just yourself. They got me twerking on TV. Never twerked in my life, and now I am giving a go.
I'm just I want to see it, but I also don't want to see it.
Once you've seen it, you can't unsee it.
Yeah. Right.
But again, a proud moment is watching the kids, and Charlie was just amazing, so mature. because what they would do, the premises, they would set us up with dates, and we would go on the dates. I think I'm one of the few people who's been on a dating reality TV show and actually didn't go on a date. So
Oh, right.
it was quite amazing. Yeah, it just didn't work out.
What about I was going to ask you about the impact on your daughter being on a show.
Well, the show was an amazing success for me. I didn't get a partner, no, I didn't go on any dates, but my daughter said at the end of it that she had the best holiday she's ever had, and it got us closer together because she got to see me for me, and there was a few things that I was saying and doing that she was so proud of, and she could see the reaction from her fellow kids, or I say them kids, they're teenagers, peers, and it got us so much closer together. It was a total 100% success.
Love it. Well, it's quite a journey, and with I suppose the challenges with anxiety to go to do that. Bloody good on you.
Such a challenge, and something I never thought I'd do. Anxiety is still real, still there. You just learn to try and put it aside and not let it control your life.
Well, the next question was going to be what advice and what tools could you suggest for anyone who might be struggling with anxiety?
Learn what your feelings are telling you, and one thing I have learnt is, unfortunately, you can get as much knowledge as you like, but as soon as you feel something, that will trump any knowledge you've got. So if you're not in an environment where you're not feeling much, you can be the wisest person in the world, but as soon as your feelings get triggered, all that wisdom goes, and you go back to your coping mechanism of when the first time you had that feeling. So if you can feel the feeling and learn what that is telling you, and accelerate or improve your coping mechanisms for that feeling, that'll be just the bee's knees.
Cool. And probably get a plug in for the gym. Where can people find you?
It's easy to find, opposite the Strip on Koha Fitness, opposite the council. Just come and say hi. Love to have a yarn, have a chat, show you through. Come and have a play. You'll be surprised how much exercise helps you. But we're not just about exercise, we're about you.
That's awesome, and we're really looking forward to having you along to the Yarnsman in September.
I look forward to it.
I'll put the actual date in the intro, although we probably this might come out afterwards. But thank you so much for the yarn today, Chris. Really appreciate you.
I really appreciate your invitation. Thanks.
Cheers.